everyone, and welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. This is your extra show for the week. My name is Cammy Bell. I'm your host, as always. And to join me on this week's extra, my chum from the golden years of Rangers, I think it's fair to say, and also a man who today is celebrating 39 years with his beloved wife, Margaret. So happy anniversary to you both, is Alan Bradley. Alan, thank you so much for coming on this week, and especially doing it on such an important date as well.
Thanks, Cammy. I mean, clearly I'm celebrating. I don't know if Margaret's celebrating. I think she's still thinking, what did I do? But no, as you say, 39 years. I must have done the odd kind of decent thing, mate. Yeah.
Well, true. And listen, she'll have more than got used to you putting your first love as the priority, which obviously is the famous Glasgow Rangers. Alan, a really great night at Ibrox last night. In terms of what Rangers were able to achieve throughout the European campaign thus far. A 2-1 win over USG. Maybe not the prettiest of wins, I think, if we're being a little bit fair. I don't know about you. You'll have been checking your Nokia 3210 for SMS updates about what was happening.
I had to go out and use the call, the payphone,
the payphone road, phone home for it. Because the last 15 minutes, I think, for me at least, and a lot of the guys around me in Ibrox last night, we were just constantly trying to check the permutations of where we were within the group, and then somebody would score, and then Hoffenheim were 4-1 up at one point, did their best, I think, to almost throw that away when it got to 4-3. But ultimately, everything pretty much went in Rangers' favour, and we've been able to finish 8th in the group, which obviously gives us an automatic placing. We missed the next round of ties, and we'll talk about our potential opponents in just a second. But keen to get your thoughts, Alan, on obviously the European campaign thus far, a little bit of polar opposites, I think it's fair to say, against our league campaign at home. But my own thoughts, in terms of coming out of Ibrox last night, I'll be honest with you, I was really delighted. I was skipping out of Ibrox last night because I was incredibly proud of the group of players that have got us to this stage. I was pleased for the manager. He's come under a lot of criticism, deservedly so. I'm not trying to rewrite history. But to finish 8th within that group, given some of the teams that we've had to play along the way and the results that we've been able to achieve, I think, hopefully every Rangers fan last night and today just, they feel that and share that sense of pride.
I'm absolutely delighted, as you say, like all Rangers fans. And a shout out to Big Del for the Railway Bears, because he's 2 seats behind me. And obviously the game was going on. I was focused purely on that. I just hope we win. I hope we can, get more goals. And when he just tapped me and went, "Hey, Al, have a look at your phone, see where we are now," as you say, Cammy. But thanks for that. That really made it kind of more nervy at the end. But no, absolutely delighted. I don't think we can overstate how well that we've done. I really don't. Within the context of all the changes in the summer, all the nonsense kind of that we've been through and so on, with the resources, the injuries, obviously good now that some youth coming in too, but I really don't think we can overstate. When you look at obviously we played 4 of the kind of other 7 in the top 8, but even if you look at the number of teams below there as well, I just think it's absolutely phenomenal. So I'm really delighted. The wee things that I picked up on too, Cammy, would be luck. This sounds daft, but you kind of feel guilty, which is so stupid. I mean, I came out of Old Trafford last week, just walking out of the ground, and it was like, are we never going to get anything? Or we get back to 1 each, and we lose that goal in it. And we were even talking in the bus that took us to 4 o'clock in the morning to get home. We're going, just being a Rangers fan, it just always seems to get snatched. We never get the breaks at all. Now I come out of Ibrox, obviously last night, absolutely delighted, but you actually feel as if, we don't deserve luck, because last night there was loads of chances went away. But when you think of all the stuff that's happened, even the cup final, some of the decisions and things, the injuries that we've had is horrendous. And it's a bit like me with the old golf, Cammy. I mean, if I play a shot and it kind of bounces to the side, I go, well, but if I play a really good one, but it bounces in, and I go, and people say, but Alan, you meant it. You feel guilty getting it, but we deserve it. When you think of what we've been through, what we're up against, and the whole resilience as well, the younger profile as well now, so the experience that all these guys are going to get. Okay, Bailey Rice, Curtis and so on, but even, Igaman as well, Raskin, Dio, Yefte, that's great in terms of building and developing. Our reputation again, Cammy, all over Europe, people are going to be going, Rangers again. If we want to try and attract players as well to go over here, that's a big positive. You mentioned as well about the manager too. That should ease a fair bit of pressure, probably until the team sheet comes out on Sunday, and then we go, what's he doing? That but really, that in itself, I think there's definitely been some positivity coming out that we can see. Only thing is, I felt the performance too, Cammy. I was saying during the game to the guys, if we win this one, this is probably about the worst I've seen us playing, because we just kept giving it away. We'll go in. But again, I don't want to go down that. And the biggie is, Cammy, 1972, we finished third, 16 points behind, Celtic and Aberdeen, 16 behind Celtic, which would be 24 points. We won the Cup Winners' Cup that year. I mean, I'm just saying, Cammy, do you know what I mean?
It's possible. And there's definite links to, times when we've had to play against Lyon, and we've done pretty well when we progress through the tournament. So who knows if the stars are aligned or not. But yeah, listen, a bit to unpack there. And I think, all valid points, well made. I think that it's interesting because you've hit on a really great point there around whether or not you felt as if it was to be lucky or not. And there's probably elements of that because our domestic and European seasons have been so yin-yang that you almost... You can tell that's what leads to the frustration whenever we drop points, away from home in Scotland, because you're like, you can go to Old Trafford and you can turn up there, and you can go across to Greece and you can get an outstanding result in France. It's what the hell is it that's going on here? And that, I think, is absolutely fair criticism. Like you say, I'm not going to rewrite history. I would never attempt to do that. I think you can't pull the wool over the eyes of Rangers supporters. But as you rightly say, there has to be tremendous credit given to everyone involved in terms of being able to try and get here. We don't know yet. We're recording early on Friday due to schedule, so we don't know yet in terms of the draw. We've got the option of 20 Fenerbahce, Bobo Glimt or Anderlecht. Now, again, a point that you touched on, Alan, that I want to really kind of come back to as well, that apart from the fact that, I don't see any major heavy hitters within that group, that's no disrespect to them, because I don't think the games will be easy. I'm not saying that for a minute. But to come back to the point you just made there as well, none of those teams that I've just mentioned will want Rangers. None of them.
No.
We'll play away from home on the 6th of March, so that gives us a good period of rest. As I say, thankfully, because of where we finished, we obviously miss our round of ties. And then we're back to Ibrox on the 13th of March on the return leg. And I'm telling you this now, no one from that group of 4 teams, whoever gets through as part of our potential, none of them will want to come to Ibrox.
And I think we've talked about it, and I think with David as well, even away from home, you just say domestically, you and I have got an hour, I think, of me ranting about that, so we'll put that to the side. But in Europe, away from home as well, and I mean, I think you would say it as well in the 80s and 90s, it's, oh my God, we're going abroad. We'll be lucky if we probably get any possession at all. We'll maybe get 1 or 2 chances. But consistently, you actually feel quite confident even going abroad, because teams will come, because they'll go, well, it's kind of Rangers and we're at home, we've got to impose ourselves. Rangers, we can hit teams on the counter attack. So it's not even a case, Cammy, going, let's go there. And okay, if we come back with a 2-0 and we kind of turn it, majestically at the end at Ibrox, you can actually go to pretty much most of it. We've seen it even Old Trafford. We could go to these away games as well, come back you may win, may come back with a draw. But as you say, any team at all, Ibrox under the lights, you know what I mean? It's there for us. And I don't mean to suddenly sound in Cloud Cuckoo Land, but do you get what I mean? More realistically, any one of those sides as well, to be honest with you, we could do not bad in the first leg, and then back to Ibrox again, Cammy, and you just don't know.
Yeah, and again, kind of coming back to that point you mentioned, and I think it's totally fair to say I don't I don't think it was a great performance last night by Rangers.
No.
It was a great result. I think that it's not been a great performance. However, I absolutely understand why, because it has been a long campaign. We've had obviously a number of fixtures. We're not long out the back of the kind of main festive season fixture list that obviously never really tends to help. By the way, that's not me advocating bringing back the winter break because Christ almighty, Rangers are terrible after it. But we can understand as to why it was a bit leggy. And then, you do take into account, the injuries, the various different pieces that you had to move, especially in the starting lineup last night, playing Tav centre half. Unfortunately for Leon King having to go off with a concussion, and then putting Ross McCausland at right back. I think everybody at that that stage when they saw that sub, you're like, my God, this will be interesting. And McCausland, again, to be totally fair, I think he did struggle at right back. I totally understand why. Again, it's not a criticism because it's just not natural to him. When he got the booking, Alan, I'll be honest with you, I thought this could be a real problem area here. But to give the manager his due, he not only wanted to give McCausland his opportunity, but it was clear that the design was around, okay, I know I'm going to have to bring John Souttar into the mix and bring him back from injury, but I have to ensure that I don't bring him on too early, otherwise I'm going to exacerbate that injury and ask him to overreach, I suppose, is the best way I can put it. So he kind of bided his time, being able to try and bring him on, and he did obviously make that substitution when Czerny went off. McCausland could go up. That worked very well within our favour. So I think the best way I can describe last night was pretty scrappy. I thought the two Rangers goals were excellent. I thought the cross in from Tavernier for Nico Raskin and Raskin's header back across the goalkeeper came absolutely the right time for us. But the second goal, I think, came at the best time for us because USG had chances. Obviously, they had one chalked off or offside. So did Rangers. But the goals came exactly when we needed them to. And yeah, at the game last night, and I've not had the opportunity because, as I say, we're recording early doors on the Friday morning. I've not had the opportunity to watch the entire game back and see some more of the USG chances. So I am fully expecting that when I do, it's going to feel like I was worried at the time. I don't really know why I was so worried. But we got it over the line, and that's the most important thing.
I think you're right, 100%. And it's funny, when I saw Souttar, I was getting the bus and I saw Souttar's name, I'm thinking, how long could he play? What kind of part would he? And as you say, when that happened, I thought, Tav to right back, Souttar in there. When he didn't do that and he put Ross on in front of us, you could see him. You'd be the same, the main stand at that side, but you could see obviously the manager talking to him. But even early on, it was... Well, I listened to, Ian and Stephen's, the kind of pre-pod, going through analysing them, because I had in my mind, that's okay, USG came, I think 2-0 away, 3-2, they crumbled at Ibrox, that'll be fine. But when I listened to all the stuff that Stephen and Ian went through, the experience that they've obviously gained now, the change in players and so on, far more formidable than I had anticipated. And what they said as well is talked about, okay, keeper doesn't really command too much. He's not the bravest. Midfield, they do move it about well. They are really good in transition. And down the wings, they can be really explosive, And it just seemed to me as if early on the manager had been saying to the wee fella, the chap down here on the left-hand side, you just need to stay with him at times. So to me, in a way, it was giving him a bit more energy. But I agree with you. The minute the wee fella got the booking, you knew at some point we had to change it. And it was great, okay, later in the game, but it was reassuring when Big Souttar came on. And you'll know, this season he's been leaps and bounds, Cammy, compared to what it was, But to get into the goal as well, second one, we'll go into Dessers as well, but my goodness, if I hadn't seen Dessers until 3-4 weeks ago, it's just amazing. But the way everything was complete, he was holding it up, he was really powerful running, obviously going down that left-hand side as well. I was expecting the wee 3 twists and turns and falling, but again, the way that he looked cut up and placed that to Czerny was just smashing. Czerny as well, I didn't think he had a great game by his standards, and it did look as if he was really... He wasn't 100% fit, but putting that one again in, it's smashing as well, isn't it? When you've got those players that can, they can come on and really do something. Igaman, for example, I don't think he had his greatest game, but the big guy obviously worked his socks off and so on. No, I'm just delighted. And it's funny you mentioned about the wee fellow Raskin's header. It wasn't quite a alley against Dynamo Kiev when it hit a corner. I think he did actually. I thought he did really well to direct it back across the goal as well, Cammy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about a couple of those players because it would absolutely be remiss of us not to do that. And the first one has to be James Tavernier. You mentioned there, Alan, quite rightly about McCausland and coming on. And again, you were in Manchester. I was watching it on the TV, and Rio Ferdinand doing co-coms against Man United made mention specifically around James Tavernier walking some of the players through the game, being able to coach on the pitch in the moment for some of those guys. You know, we talked about Bailey Rice, talked about Finlay Curtis. We these guys been able to come on in an incredibly daunting arena. Absolutely not expecting to get on. If I'm being honest, obviously injuries absolutely played their part to that, and Tav himself obviously had to move as well. And I think he did absolutely the same thing with Ross McCausland last night. The quality of the cross coming in for Raskin, again, you've said it yourself, is a great header. And it's a great finish, a striker's finish, almost, if you want to call it that. And for a wee guy, he's got a fantastic leap on him. However, the quality of the cross coming in, even, and I think, when we did our post-match car pod on our Patreon site last night, I did make mention that when we took that corner, the ball back to Tav from Cherny in the short corner.
It was a bit of a challenge, wasn't it?
It was not the best one, but listen, Tav being Tav, gets the ball under control, whips in a fantastic cross, Raskin finishes, and it's what he's capable of. Now, again, another player we're going to talk about in just a moment, but James Tavernier has come under a lot of pressure this season, and I think that, he will admit now his season did not start well. He wasn't playing anywhere near the kind of usual level, but I wanted to call him out specifically because, again, his form since being able to come back from injury, almost been flung back into the real key games. Obviously, got on against Fraserburgh to be able to come back into the squad, but then before you know it, you're heading to Old Trafford. And last night, as much as we can say it was a scrappy performance, there was still huge amounts of importance on it. So we can never neglect that. But Tavernier, for me, has really been able to step back into a consistent level for me. And I think it's been amplified with the fact that he's had to move into centre-half for, a good portion of minutes, but also what he's been able to do on the park with some of those players around him and helping get them through some very, very tough games.
It sounds daft, Cammy, but it's taken a long time, but just the character, the resilience that he has shown, because my goodness, I know we went on before and we'll get on to Dessers, but when you think of all the years with the Tav, the criticism that he has taken, but as you're saying, it jumped out to me at Old Trafford when he went back in there. And I always put down, he doesn't read the game because you forget, man at the back post Tav and so on. But you could see he was anticipating things as well. He was also more decisive, in terms of, like, don't fuck about, sorry language, but, just get the ball out, clear it. And as you say, talking to some of the younger guys as well. And I saw a bit more about that yesterday as well. When the ball kind of went over there, it was just like, my role here is to anticipate it, get in, and move it out. So, I think all credit to James Tavernier. I think he's, and as you say, in terms of the number of these young players that are coming through as well, it is good because you do need that. You need your experienced people to, just kind of give them a wee bit of kind of comfort as required and just kind of guide them.
Yeah. He's, as I say, he's come back into a really good run of form, and it's really helped being able to kind of manage. I was almost going to say an injury crisis, but right now, as things stand, it doesn't feel like a crisis. It just feels like the permanent state of play at Rangers at times because, it just is such as our injury record. However,
when Big Igaman went down as well, was it the first half over at the, the kind of Sandy Jardine Govan one, right away I'm thinking, here we go, probably one of our greatest prospects in years. And,
exactly the same thing. Yeah, thought exactly the same thing. But we will move on to man of the moment, Cyril Dessers. Now, I think I made a joke about this last week, Alan, that I genuinely don't think in all the years we've been doing Heart in Hand, even prior to the Patreon days, that we've ever talked about a player as much as we've talked about Cyril Dessers. Cyril Dessers, I thought was excellent last night. Between him and Tav, it was wafer thin for me in terms of who was man of the match. I thought his hold-up play was far better, a huge gap that we've seen from him previously, but he did really, really well with that last night. And the creation of the second goal for me was exemplary and being able to get us up the park. There's some good pace from the big man, by the way. I think he's found a yard, if I'm being honest. He does that thing which we've given compliments to other Rangers players about recently, where once he gets into that danger area, and he's within the 18-yard box, but the angle is just too tight for him to be able to get a shot away. Did it at Tannadice, but not last night. He does the right thing by looking up, and he plays it into the player, and where the player is potentially going to be. It's not just a blind, right, let's lash it and just hope for the best. Czerny, again, I think I'm going to give him a little bit of a cushion because he was obviously coming back from injury. Not his greatest performance last night, but listen, he was absolutely where he needed to be. Very intelligent, by the way. If you watch this goal back, he actually goes to run and then stops, and then realizes, no, there's no need for me to be 6 yards for goal. I can wait here. Dessers finds him. It's a cool slot finish. And it looks easy, but it's not, because he has to be able to still get it through a pretty crowded, probably 10-yard area, I think, to be able to try and finish that. But he does really, really well to slot it home. As I say, the timing of that goal was pivotal. But the most important thing, I think, for me is I understand the system that is maybe going to impact Egeman a wee bit if we play him out a wee bit out towards the left-hand side. And the only reason as to why I say it impacts him, Alan, is nothing to do with his play, because I thought he was excellent last night, as per usual. Contained a little bit, but that's likely because USG were looking to purposefully, suffocate his time in the ball. And he did take a couple of heavy challenges, and I'll be honest with you, I think that was done deliberately. But that also gave Dessers a little bit more room to operate. And when he's in the form that he's in, and when he has the confidence that he has at the moment, there's definitely an asset there. And now I'm not saying that if I would necessarily lose sleep if he was to leave in this window, but right now he's undroppable.
Yeah, there's two things kind of jumped out there as you were going through the first one that you mentioned as well. I agree with. There's a compromise there, and I think the manager's done well in terms of you're actually, as you say, you're taking a wee bit of the output that Igamani can have when Dessers is playing that way, but ultimately putting the two combined, it's giving us a better result. And I thought you saw a bit of that yesterday. As I say, Igaman, I didn't think had his greatest one, but because of the way they've changed the system. The other thing I feel too with Dessers is now that he has got a real kind of threat in terms of playing up front, the Igaman's there now. He's upped his game, and I don't mean that. The guy's attitude's always been, he's always worked hard and so on, but there seems to be a wee bit of if I don't really keep doing this, potentially I could be back out of the side again. And I think now that you've got the two up front at the moment, that seems to have helped. And I made the comment before, but if anyone from outside was looking at him over like a 3 or 4 week, you just go, look at this one, look at the hat trick, the Man U goals, the one at Dundee United, and then look at this, should be going, how can we get him? Do you know what I mean? We always talk about the whole enigma thing where it's like, geez, do you know what I mean? But absolutely delighted for him as well, and good, because he's just, even you think of the Aberdeen one as well. I think Big Balogun mentioned it too, even to get that as you're coming on. But I think in terms of his attitude and so on, my God, it definitely deserves all the praise, Cammy, the way he's been playing at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big thing I think for me for Dessers, Alan, is we just need to keep him in this zone, I suppose. I very, very much respect his honesty when he's spoken about his mental health previously, obviously having conversations with mental health support and being able to have sessions with professionals talking about that, and it's a human side of it that maybe we sometimes forget when we're looking at elite level athletes.
Walter Smith, although not externally, but Walter Smith, he had that in abundance, didn't he, in terms of how to deal with certain players and to kind of read them and so on. And again, that's where I think Philip Coleman as well. Obviously, the external people do, but that's where he can really add value. As you say, different players need kind of different type of attention and so on. But it would be great. What I wouldn't like suddenly is we just get this kind of great purple patch again, and then we had it with other players in the past, Ryan Kent and things like that. So. But it was just, in fact, it was so bad that, I mean, we've got obviously jokes in our area as well, and everybody was just like, I just love Dessers, when am I getting a tattoo? That's just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm at that stage yet.
No, I don't think so.
Honest, but you made mention there of someone else that I wanted to just have a brief chat about as well, which is the manager.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting to me to see the shift, I think, in the Rangers support, and I think we get to Christmas, New Year kind of time, and we've made mention with it before as well about it was a question at that stage of when and not if the manager would be going. We get to January, there's a vote of confidence that's not a vote of confidence statement from Patrick Stewart around, he's here to support the manager, but there's expectations that he has to deliver in Europe, and he has to resolve the away form, etc. And it comes back to that paradox of this season where we are so disappointed what's happened domestically, and everyone accepts that we won't win the league. No one likes it. There is a key difference to that, by the way. It's not a submission. It's just, we are where we are. We accept the reality of the situation. We're not throwing sharks in car parks. But the thing for me now is, as I'm seeing and reading online and talking to people, Alan, it's Clermont has been able to win back quite a few of them. Now, it's not over the line. And by the way, nothing will get over the line unless there's a trophy in hand. But theoretically, could you imagine if, we've moved from December to May and we're talking about potentially sacking a manager and then getting to a European final?
I know, absolutely. And obviously you and David as well, and I've been on, and we're on, I think I was on with David and Andy a few times as well. And I ain't a happy clapper. I mean, I can moan like the best and criticise and so on, but it's just the old Alan, and I've just always had kind of time and patience, and it got to a stage where you're thinking, okay, it could be untenable, but I just always, I feel I'm like, try and look at the bigger picture, and then the criticism I thought was over the top at some point. Everybody just wanted to, it was like burn everything, rip it up, start again, and I was saying, you just can't keep doing it. And again, it could all change, but I feel that this in itself has given him something in the bank as well. The fact that we are now seeing some evidence, people would say, yeah, but show me the evidence. Okay, to be honest with you, it's circumstance at times that he's brought some of these young players in and so on. But to me, that there definitely are positives. He has made big mistakes as well in terms of we've done well playing with two up front, then we revert back and so on. But I'm in a kind of cut him more slack. And as you say, Cammy, if we could just domestically get onto some level of consistency, sort out the away from home, which, as I say, we've got a whole hour of me going on about that one. But in terms of tactical and things and all that in Europe, the guy could, it's like, well, what have you actually done? He's actually got a pretty decent record, hasn't he? And as I say, I think even, okay, we lost the midfield and things at bits and so on, but overall, it would just be, I just think it would be foolhardy just to say we lose another away game and it's right, that's it, get rid of him. Who comes in, and then what happens to the players that at the moment seems to be more of a bond and more of a unity as well across this mix of players? What do? Do you just break that up again and someone else comes in? And I think we've got the Patrick Stewart, I'm not sure what's happening, but that whole overview of the kind of, the football system or the club in itself. So I think we just need to hope that we can just keep going on for the next month or so, Cammy, see what comes out of that one. But realistically, here we go. I honestly think that we're more than capable of going and winning the Scottish Cup. I haven't really got a fear of us playing 1-1 against Celtic in a game. I think we've showed a couple of times now. I think we've talked about it too in Europe. It could all go other way. You could be talking getting into quarterfinals and things like that. So
it's achievable. It's achievable.
It really is, mate. And so, as some of the players come back, I don't know who's going to come in terms of some changes and so on. And the other thing too is, okay, I think we've made about £8.9 million at the moment through the Europa one, excluding any profit from the 4 home games. So we're doing okay kind of financially, as well on it. Apparently, they have reduced the whole. One of his key performance stuff as well was reducing the overall wage bill. I think we have taken, I don't know, I read some about say 10 million quid or whatever. So I just think it's a kind of time and patience at the moment, and then just see, and then any major decisions in that, Cammy, look at it in the summer. Sorry, became all happy clappy and that.
So. Listen, I think I agree with all of that. I think it's been interesting to me where I've seen a lot of, especially when we get into the transfer window, where there has been almost a deferral that he's spoken about whenever he's asked him about transfers and press conferences, where he's more or less said that's Patrick and Niles Coppin. They have to, they're dealing with that. And at first I was like, is that passing the buck? I don't know. And there's probably an element of it now where I'm actually glad he's doing that. Now, I'm not saying that he's completely removing himself from the process. I'm certain that he's involved in the conversations to some degree. But maybe this is what he needed. And we have spoken, in the manager's defence previously, that there was a vacuum above him. There absolutely was.
And he, unfortunately, he got all of that burdened on him. So all the shit that was going on all over, the whole... the moving to Hampden, it was all kind of on him, as you're saying. In a way, I think he's done this pretty well. He's actually putting a wee bit of a pressure as well on the guys above to say, you need to sort some of this stuff out, and whatever you've given me, I'll do the best that I can. But I think he's played this one quite nicely, Cammy, at the moment.
Yeah, and he spoke about when he came in, and I remember a lot of when he came in, and I attended events where he was at, the Emerson House where. He made mention, he did it a few times, where he talked about his consideration about taking the job at Rangers. And, the structure that was in place and how that would look. And within a year, it's completely gone. It's ripped up and it's been refreshed. But there was that gap for a significant period of time. And I think with a bit of hindsight now, what you've said, 100% on the button, it's been almost as if it's focused on him, because he became a default figurehead. Now,
it's a lightning rod, wasn't it?
100%. And I think fans of my age, I'm mid-40s. So we grew up with Rangers managers who were almost like, Martin Ramsey said this phrase before, and he's 100% accurate with it, who were almost like prime ministers. They ran the ship. That was it. There was no other considerations into it. They obviously had people to answer to, but by and large, it was their focus. It's not a Rangers only thing. Look at Alex Ferguson at Man United, for example. But he became entrenched in a lot of that. And I think that now he's been able to refine his role and almost restrict it a little bit. It's probably given him a little bit more breathing space. There's absolutely still questions to answer. Now, if Philippe Clement is still Rangers manager in 12 months' time, then those KPIs that you mentioned, those metrics and expectations are 100%. You had better be in a league race.
Yes.
Now, if we continue to go down this road with him, and he's here after the summer, and we begin season 25-26 with him at the helm, then ultimately it's about winning the league. No one else cares about anything else. And if you're out of a league race, a third of the way through the season, as we have been, then at that point
it's unacceptable.
You're done. Yeah, right? There is no conversation at that point. I don't care about the mitigation. That's where you're at. And so I think for me now, I'm starting to see a shift back into our fans, giving them that opportunity, being able to see what we can do next. But as you've made mention in terms of what's on the table, for the rest of this season, it is the Scottish Cup, and as far as you can go in the Europa League. And I'm not saying, let's get to Bilbao and we're all booking up apartments and flats and all the rest of it. What I'm saying is, let's make sure that we go out and continue to give a good account of ourselves. If we are going to have to concede the league, which again I don't find acceptable, but I accept it from a transitional season, whatever you're going to end up having to call this, and it's a bitter pill to swallow, then at the end of the day, all we can do now is go as far as we can within the Scottish Cup, the Europa League. If you can deliver one of them, then absolutely brilliant. If he delivers the Europa League, Christ, I think we'll be building statues of him.
I know, and the thing as well, Cammy, is, and it is going back with me again, I talked about that Cup Winners' Cup, and then in the year after, we're a point, we end up losing the league to Celtic in a point. You get the big Wallace gets the treble, and is like the greatest thing. And the next season we win nothing, and there's Wallace there was all the get ready, but they didn't at that time because things were different. The following year we go and we win a treble again, and you saw the Alec Ferguson, all the stuff that was going on, where it took years. I know the world's all changed now, but I also think even in society as well, everybody's like that. It's no working, throw it away, give me another one. But I honestly feel even the Van Bronckhorst stuff, I know domestically it was terrible and all that, but even that guy, Cammy, was one penalty kick away from probably our greatest ever. I felt even the way they treated him, with the Michael Beale come, the way that was all done. So I don't know, it's just instinctively, I'm just like, I'm using the word hope, and people say, forget about the hope, but I just feel that if we can now, with the Patrick Stewart structure and things coming in, it's like the modern football, the old director of football, and then managers or coaches come in. This is the resource that you have to play with, get the best out of it. And it would be quite nice if we got a few months of that, Cammy, and we could see just this gradual, process going through. But again, never settle for second best. Ultimately, I just want Rangers to win everything. But if we do this, and by the end of the summer, we have, say, won the Scottish Cup, gone a bit better, we've got a number of players who are far more valuable in terms of potential for using that whole, the trading model and things, and we're getting more people wanting to come back into Rangers. But as you say, I think at the summer, then it becomes have we moved forward now? How are we doing against these various targets and things,
Well, I mean, listen, you're going to be the one that has to tell Margaret later on tonight over dinner that, you're taking her away to Spain in May.
Cammy, we get married on the 31st of January 1986, which was smashing, because Souness came, but he came that year, and funnily enough, through the door, it was like, what's this, Margaret? I had just been going all the time, because you didn't need a season ticket, my first ever season ticket, we just went in the bus. And it was Margaret, 60 quid, right, for one of those Rover ones. Anyway, the year, our anniversary, our first wedding anniversary, who do we play? Hamilton in the Scottish Cup, don't we? And Margaret and I are going to Chim's in Hamilton that night. So I think Margaret knows exactly how, depending on how things go with Rangers, how Alan is.
That's what happens.
And she's stuck it since then, yeah.
Just remember your old pal, as long as I can get a space in the floor in the hotel room in Bilbao. That's all I'm saying.
I still owe you for that last one, mate. Yeah.
Listen, let's wrap up, Alan, as we've got the visit of Ross County to Ibrox on Sunday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that we are going to be able to talk on the flagship on Monday about anything but the referee. That's all I'm wishing for at this point. Yeah. It's going to be, I'm hoping, a fairly straightforward game. Due respect to Ross County sitting 10th at the moment, they will still be looking to get whatever they can to try and get into the top 6, which is 4 points above them at the moment as things stand. We can't be glib. I know we've spoken a lot about domestic league performances and what's been going on at the moment as well. We don't really have any of those key issues to worry about when we are playing at home. But the most important thing, I think, is I'd like to see some rotation. We've probably seen players playing a lot of minutes. They've been playing in different positions. They've had to commit, and some hope is, ideally, that we can continue on with the youth involvement that we've seen.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we will start to see some players coming back from injury. It may be a chance to consider as to whether or not we get players up to match fitness if they are going to be moving on in this window. The manager might go in the other direction, and he might decide, actually, if we are looking at potentially getting rid of X or Y, then I'm just gonna exclude them. Either would be fine with me if that's what his decision is going to be. Ultimately, we just have to go and just make sure that we win the game comfortably. There's no overexertion. Obviously, we don't have Europe, for the next couple of months, which is lovely. But by and large, we can just manage the games that we have to do domestically now. And I'm hoping that, Queen's Park and the Scottish Cup will be relatively straightforward as well. But Ross County is in front of us at the moment. And it's really just a case of let's go and take care of business. Nice, simple, straightforward. No refereeing controversy. That would be lovely. Let's just make it as straightforward as we can.
Absolutely. And I think, as you say, first thing is which players are kind of, in terms of fitness, any of them really struggling, kind of put them to the side. But use the best that you've got in terms of people that are fit. Probably sprinkle in a couple of younger ones, as you say, in there. But again, what I would do is typically I would rather, okay, maybe have a couple in, but start off with a really strong Rangers side, Cammy, get off to a good start. Then if you can get ahead by a couple of goals, then you can look at, but rather than do the old, they'll keep 6 or so many in the bench, 5 in the bench of the more experienced ones. If it goes wrong, I'd rather that, as you say, we do the best we can, try and get a mix of it, but try and get ahead in the game, get a couple of goals, and then you can do a bit more of sprinkling, some more of the youth. But again, as we've said, and not to be disrespectful at all, but Rangers playing Ross County at Ibrox, really, if we can hit anything like our potential, it should be, a good 3 points. And as you say, again, the following week, it gives us a wee bit more time. We'll see what's happened in terms of transfers by then as well, mate.
Yeah, that's what I was going to finish up on, Alan. You've segued into that like a professional podcaster that you are, that, we will be covering all of the Rangers ins and outs regarding the transfer window across our Patreon site. So it's patreon.com/heart and hand. Any updates will be covered either within David's daily update that we have for you Monday to Friday, but also, as I say, any other signings or any other players looking to go, we will give you that news as quickly as we possibly can. It will be interesting, Alan, I think, to see if we are able to provide a little bit more focus on that wage bill reduction. I would anticipate, because there hasn't been a lot of overall market business done in January. It might speed up, but when we come into the closing stages of the window, I don't know if it will or not. I wouldn't be putting folding money on it. But for Rangers, what we have to be able to do is just make sure that if we are able to progress a deal through, whether it's a loan for players being able to go out, if we feel that there's potential value on any players being able to come in, we continue to be lively within it. We've obviously had about £5 million as part of the Europa League qualification, so it'll be. And I don't personally speaking, I don't think that we need to spend anywhere near that amount of money, and I don't think we will. The most important thing for us at the moment just now is make the assessment of the players that we can trim out of the squad, who we can get through with, but not leave ourselves too threadbare. Given the cup competitions that we're looking to still continue to succeed in between now and the end of the season, that we can still make sure that we can compete in those, and in some cases at a very high level.
I would agree, and I think David made the point, was it yesterday, to do with the FFP, even within the market itself, a lot of it tends now just to be kind of loans with potential options to buy and things, so it's more likely to be that type of thing rather than, as you say, splashing out, a kind of purchase, from there, but we'll just wait and see. But as I say, God, positive Alan, but I just feel at the moment, when you think of what happened last night, where we are with the way the squad's going and so on, I'm actually looking forward to, can we believe it or not, the next few months of the season, see where it takes us, yeah.
Yeah, and who would have thought that you'd have been saying that on Boxing Day? Listen, that will do us for this week, folks. As I say, please head on over to our Patreon site if you want to be able to get loads of fantastic Rangers content. David will be back with you on Monday to unpack the flagship. I'll be back with you next Thursday on Extra as we look forward to, what I'm hoping, as we've been talking about, a relatively straightforward game against Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup. Thank you all for listening. But most importantly for me, and joining me on his wedding anniversary, but going out for a lovely meal tonight to celebrate it, is my very good pal and colleague, Alan Bradley. Alan, thank you so much for coming on. It has been greatly appreciated.
No, thanks. I always enjoy being on with you anyway, Cammy. So, and thanks for the invite, mate. Anyway, so have a good weekend as well, pal. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely, folks. If you head along to Ibrox on Sunday, have a fantastic day out. Hopefully, as I say, nice and straightforward, 3 points, and we'll discuss it with you on Monday coming. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.